goes for the same as before. If you've got a X264, if you've got a normal standard system, that will work just fine. But if you've got a decent graphics card, you may want to put it on here. Okay, so again, rescale output is the same as streaming. You can do the same there if you want to, and you've got your custom settings here. If you want to mess with those, I leave them as they are. The rate control, I'm going to come down here and change this to CBR. Now for your recording of the desktop, it doesn't really matter so much about the bit rate, because obviously you're just recording your desktop. So I'm going to put this at 40,000, and I think Nvidia's screen capture uses something around that setting for their desktop recording, so it ain't going to matter because no one's going to need to stream that content down. So set the preset to high, and also we're going to leave that on main, and if you want to play around with these other settings you can do, but that's pretty much the settings that I would use on this system. Now coming down to audio here, we're going to take a look at the sample rate here. You can see 44.1. Let me just go back here. I meant to mention audio here. Audio bitrate, you can change this to 320. This will give you better audio, so I'm just going to change that to there on that track. Then go back to audio here, and you can see sample rate is 44.1 kilohertz, and we also have 48 kilohertz. Now if you don't know what that is, you can always check your sound here. So go into sound settings and go to where it says recording and look at your recording device. Go into advanced, and you can see mine is 48, so we're going to put this at 48 for our one. Leave that on stereo, that's okay, and all the rest is okay. So drop down to video. Now this one is really important. As you can see here, we do have some settings we need to take a look at. Now if you do have a monitor that's 1920 by 1080, this will be your base resolution for your monitor. So if you've got a larger monitor like I have, you may want to bump that up to a higher resolution of your monitor. Now the output scale is what you're going to broadcast it at. So if you're doing YouTube, you want to broadcast that at a lower res. So game capture, normally 720 is what gamers send that out at. Now obviously if you've got some crazy computer and some crazy internet speed, you can up that a bit, but just remember people have to download that stream, and it could be a bit difficult for them to download that on a phone or a tablet or something like that. So you may want to keep that at 1980 by 720 and just up the sample rate to 32 samples, and we're going to use 60 frames per second. Now this is what most Twitch users will use, 1920 by 1080, and they will broadcast at 1280 by 720, and you should get a pretty sharp picture. Now if you're recording on your desktop for your records, now remember streaming and recording are two different things. If you're recording, you don't need to use those settings, okay? What you want to do if you're recording your desktop is put your screen resolution as your base up the top again, and on your output you want to put identical, okay, for the recording part for your desktop to record, okay, not gaming, because streamers will not be able to stream your 2K content down. It'll be too much, and it will be too difficult for them to, and it'll be laggy, and it'll probably freezing and all sorts of stuff like that. So just bear those facts in mind. It's pretty straightforward. For this is streaming, and for your recording it's just like for the like, okay, pretty straightforward stuff. And let me just show you here, if you've got this monitor, I'm just going to up this here for my screen resolution, and I'll show you what it looks like. Now start streaming and also stop streaming, start recording, stop recording, and all the other types of settings. These are hotkeys. I'd advise you to set these up. It makes life a lot easier. You can put them in there and clear them by hitting the clear button. Very easy to set up. I'm going to set it up as start and stop as F1 and F2. Move on to the advanced, and going up to the process priority here. If you've got a pretty beefy computer like I have, then you can set this to high, and I've got 64 gig of memory and also an i7 processor, so that's plenty. Now if you've got a pretty lower end computer, you want to maybe change these down to above normal, normal or below, depending on what quality of machine you've got, okay. And just it's just trial and error, because there's so many computers out there with different sort of processing power. So that's to suit everyone, okay? but try to push it to the highest you can with your computer as you can. And that's pretty much it for those settings. We've got those all set up now, and all we need to do is click OK and apply, and that's it. We're all set. Now all we need to do is put our source back in for our capture what we want to do. Now whether it's gaming or whether it's display capture, we're going to do a display capture for the desktop. But if you do want a game, you can click on this one and you can put in your gaming settings inside here. I will try and cover this in another video for you for streaming, because it is a little bit different to recording your desktop screen. But I wanted to cover all the basic settings in this one. But if you do want to see either one, let me know and I'll try and do my best to make those videos for you. But you can see you can add those in, and you can add them all in, so you can just switch between the two, okay? For whatever you want to use. So I'm going to do a display capture here and just rename this desktop capture, and I've misspelled that, so let me just go back here and just quickly change this. So do desktop capture here. Now I've got 2Ks, there we go. Go there in the end, and as you can see here, we've got our screen resolution right here. And just make sure that you are capturing at that screen resolution and also broadcasting at that, because we're recording our screen, we're not streaming, okay? Click OK here. Then set up your microphone to whatever you want. So you could hear your microphone and then push your start key and then you'll start recording. Now the reason why I set hotkeys is so you don't see this OBS screen, and that means that it's just one less feature to cut out in your video. And you can see here we've got the CPU running and the frames per second is 60 frames